Are you struggling to stay on top of your garden? Have your hedges and edges got the better of you? Do you feel as if your garden is closing in? It's time to fight back. How was that, mate? Did that get your attention?
Attention? Mate, I'm never going in my garden again.
Welcome to Tommy's Tool Time. My name's Tommy Cross. I'm a landscape gardener. And all joking aside, I was trying to make a serious point there because as a gardener, come the midst of summer, it really can feel like a terrifying prospect getting into the garden and keeping on top of it, especially when it comes to larger, more established shrubs and your hedgerows. Now, I get the same three questions crop up time and time again when it comes to looking after your hedgerow. When is the best time of year to cut it back? How do I go about cutting back my hedgerow? And what tools should I be using in order to cut back my shrubs and my hedges? Now, in this video, we're going to show you some top tips and tools so you can keep your hedges and your edges looking spick and span all summer long. So when is the best time of year to cut back your hedges? Now, personally, I would recommend waiting to the tail end of July, start of August. Reason being, well, there's two reasons actually, but the most important is that this hedgerow is something's home. Nesting birds will seek protection in a hedgerow away from predators. It gives them the safety and it also gives them the scope to be able to forage for food. But whatever time of year you're cutting back your hedge, it's always worth being mindful that there might be something still in residence. So gently peek in and make sure you're not going to disturb anything. The other reason as well is that you're likely at end of July, August to only cut back the new season's growth. So there's less scope for you than damaging the plant permanently or actually giving a very disjointed appearance. So be mindful of the birds and just go and take back the softer foliage at first. Leave the more heavier, drastic pruning into the more dormant months of the year, tail end of August, start of winter. Now, an easy way to identify new growth on a hedgerow is to look for a difference in colour and texture. Generally, the new growth will be much lighter in colour and much softer to the touch, a little bit flimsier than the main body of the hedgerow. It's worth cutting this back routinely. That way, not only will your hedgerow look neat and tidy, but it's also going to promote the health of the hedgerow too. And cut. So what tool should I use to cut back my hedgerow? Now, there's a whole range of options to choose from, but I think I found a tool which is a cut above the rest. I know, dreadful pun, dreadful. Conventional hand shears. Now, we've probably all come across these at some point, and whilst admittedly they do the job, the onus is on you. You to provide the willpower, the energy, and the effort to tackle your hedgerow. And a garden this size, or a hedge this size, is gonna take a heck of a lot of effort, energy, and you can be forgiven for thinking, do you know what? I can't be bothered to do any more. Another option could be a petrol hedge trimmer. That's gonna get rid of all the effort and energy required when using conventional hand shears. Or is it? First, I've got to start it. There's the pull cord, there's the priming, there's the filling with fuel. Then there's the maintenance of the engine as well. And then carrying the weight of a petrol engine and lugging that around the hedgerow as you work. Also, I'm limited with the reach as well. And the last thing I want to be doing is carrying that to the top of a ladder to get to the loftier lopping at the top. There's also the noise to think about too. So how do I tackle the top of my hedgerow and eliminate the noise? Well, you could go for a telescopic hedge trimmer. That's going to give me the reach. However, sadly, this one is powered with a plug. At one end of my tool, I've got a cutting bar, and the other, I've got a cable. I mean, what could go wrong? Also, I'm tethered by the length of that cable as well. So there might be that one part of the hedgerow which is just out of reach, and particularly problematic if you've got a larger garden. So what's the answer? This is the cordless pole hedge trimmer from Yard Force. Now, I know there are a lot of cordless pole hedge trimmers and hedge trimmers on the marketplace. So why am I so excited about this from Yard Force? It's just the refinement and the level of detail and engineering that's gone into this. Firstly, you'll notice that when it's compact in its storage position, that the neck folds all the way back on itself. So that means the blade runs up alongside the bar. Great for storage, because I see so many of these just bundled haphazardly into the shed. It leaves them susceptible to damage. and it also makes them quite difficult to store if they're 2 meters plus in length. So I can open that out and lock into position. You'll also notice the motor head is much smaller, but it doesn't mean you're going to compromise on performance and power, because I'll talk to you about that shortly. What this does mean is it's lighter to handle, lighter to operate, especially when I want to extend the pole out to its 2.56 meters in length. Great for tackling that loftier lopping and cutting. But it doesn't stop there. The powerhouse is a 20-volt battery. It charges up in 60 minutes, but this has Samsung cells. That's the difference. When you're buying a cordless tool, it's always worth looking at what caliber the battery is in terms of the battery output, but also, more importantly, what cells are within that battery. And to my mind, I don't think you can beat Samsung cells when it comes to the efficiency and output of the battery. But when it comes to performance, what is it like? With a cutting bar over 40 centimeters in length, and that powerful battery giving me scope to tackle even the more established, longer hedgerows, I've got scope to be able to cut through an array of material. Whether it's broadleaf like laurel, twiggier foliage like cotoneaster, or in this case, just gently cutting back evergreens, things like Lalandii or Toya, or even if you wanted to tackle some topiary, those 14mm spacings between the teeth make it a great all-round hedge cutter. Now, unlike the petrol hedge trimmer, there's no chance of not being able to hear me, despite the pole hedge trimmer in full operation. The very modest amount of noise that comes from the unit at the top here makes the whole process of cutting your hedgerow much safer. It means I'm more aware of my surroundings. It also means if someone shouts out from their house, "Do you want a beer?" I'm not going to miss out. And your neighbours will thank you for investing in a tool like this too. So if your garden's surrounded by established hedgerow, if you're paying for somebody to go and cut those hedges for you because the tools that you've got either involve a lot of effort, a lot of manual grunt and determination, or they just won't start, the engine's seized up, or perhaps you just don't have the reach to be able to tackle the top of your hedgerow, why not have a look at the Yardforce pole hedge trimmer? You can always visit Yardforce online, check out the link below. And if you want to see any of the projects that we do here at Homeground Landscape Gardening, visit us online at www.myhomeground.co.uk. Thanks for watching, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback below, so give us a shout out and we'll catch up with you guys soon. Thanks for watching, bye-bye. Seriously, the video's over, off we go.